The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail. Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show. And I'm Thomas.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, no, I ran into a little bit of a little glitch. Hey guys, coming to you live from Medellin, Colombia.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue 1. Bitcoin sales above 16,000. The price of Bitcoin, which previously had fallen around to $12,000, has recovered to $16,000, even $17,000 at the time of this show. Will it continue to rise or will it continue to fall? Is there a major event that's causing the price of Bitcoin to rise? Tone Vase.
There we go. There we go. All right. I'm going to save the charts for the end, guys. Let's just going to talk about price generally. I'm very bullish here. I'm very bullish for multiple reasons. One of those reasons several of those reasons we're going to talk about here on the show. One of them being the shitcoins, guys. I mean, it's out of control. It's out of control. I mean, and Whale Panda is speculating that a lot of institutions don't want to buy Bitcoin directly because it kind of raises the price of Bitcoin. So they're quasi, pumping these altcoins and then exiting those altcoins as unqualified traders and investors are rushing into those altcoins, getting ready to be slaughtered. And that's how some people are entering Bitcoin. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, that's a very speculative idea. But I'm generally bullish here. Like, again, to me, Bitcoin is not in a bubble. I mean, look, it's at a 35% of total market cap. That's just ridiculous, right? I mean, if Bitcoin was at 95% total market cap, we can start talking about a bubble in Bitcoin, but absolutely not. Is there a bubble in all of crypto? I doubt it. I mean, I'm sitting at a coffee shop in the middle of Medellin, Colombia, with one of my friends, and the only other table at the coffee shop, a couple of guys, and one of them is teaching the other one how to buy Bitcoin from Coinbase, for God's sakes. It's just getting started. It's really crazy, and I do think we're going higher. Who would have thought we were so low a year ago? I'll talk charts later, but I think we can run this up to 25K in Bitcoin, and let's see what happens with the altcoins. If altcoins rise along with Bitcoin, I mean, it's going to be scary, but then there's no bubble. If altcoins take a huge hit as Bitcoin runs up to 25, then maybe Bitcoin will dip right after. And Tether is still an issue. God knows what the total market cap of Tether is right now, but people said that since we did that video with me, Jimmy, and Bitfinex, Tether has gone up in value by 700 million Tether. It is getting a little bit out of control, but for now, everything says higher.
Jeffrey Jones, do you agree? Will the Bitcoin price go higher?
Will it go higher? Will the sun come up tomorrow, Thomas? And yes, that the answer to that is definitely going to be yes. I mean, look, guys, there is a huge amount of development and work right now. We just had RSK launch on LiveNet. We just did live transactions of Lightning on LiveNet. There's so many people working on so many technologies in Bitcoin, and it's starting to finally, come to fruition. Look, it's super difficult to develop actual decentralized software. And this is what is happening with Bitcoin. They are actually developing real decentralized software and, meant for the world, scalable to the planet. This is not the same as, some of these other tokens with barely any users at all. And so that's important to keep in mind. And so a lot of that hard work is now finally coming to fruition, like, for example, with the Lightning Network, where I definitely predict that by the end of this year, almost every single major crypto company will have that integrated into their technology stack. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. But yeah, then we have all this craziness, like as Toad mentioned, the single-digit coins. now taking up the entire top 10 market cap. I mean, look, it's a bit of a game, right? And how we're doing it right now, how we're measuring and saying how we're measuring winners right now is simply by market cap. So what are you going to do? You're going to create a token with 1 billion freaking tokens and sell it for $1. And there you go. You know, so the
100
entire
billion,
100 billion, you know, hundreds of billions of tokens, people. I mean, come on. Look, I realize that some stocks have billions of shares and things like that, but this is just not the same, people. This is ridiculous. These tokens are all centralized, and they're now taking up the top 10. So again, if that's the game, if market cap is the winner, how we measure the winners, then this is what they're doing. They're absolutely gaming the system, and that is definitely taking a whole lot of market cap away from other legitimate tokens. But again, this is temporary. This is not going to last forever. More and more technologies get developed, more and more utility will present itself, and people will flock to you know, the best coin, the coin with the best developers, the biggest ecosystem, and that's going to be Bitcoin. Now, as Tone said, I'm extremely bullish as well. We did have a bit of a correction there, as these, you know, we needed a correction. Tone was looking for a correction since like 5 or 6K, and so we finally got this, you know, huge correction. And then of course Bcash and all these other single-digit tokens piled onto it, and that's fine. But that actually didn't even take Bitcoin out of its parabolic run, out of its parabolic channel. They couldn't even do that. If you zoom out a little bit on the logarithmic, you could see that we just took a little tiny break here before we continue our march on to 100K and beyond. It's just funny because there's a lot of people I see on Twitter and other various social media that have a hard time understanding how Bitcoin can be so high priced, right? And so valuable when these other tokens claim to do so many things better, right? When these other tokens have governance and privacy and on and on and on. but as we know, you know, the Bitcoin is the only decentralized blockchain at scale. And that's huge. That's saying something. And to keep something at scale like this, you know, secure, and optimized and continuously evolving, that takes a lot of work. And so that's what we're seeing. And so this is we're seeing some of the value finally reflect in Bitcoin, because it has been absolutely undervalued for so long, for years. It has been undervalued, and now we're finally starting to see Bitcoin come into some of the value that it's actually worth. And on the Tether thing, I mean, look, we have no other better way of putting fiat into crypto right now. This is what's going to work until the government or somebody comes down and shuts that down, and then we'll figure out a different way. It's not going to stop Bitcoin. It may stop a few altcoins, but Bitcoin will continue its prevalent because of the demand. There's just too much demand, and the demand is not slowing down. It's going to increase exponentially, and that demand will find a place that will make sure that fiat gets into Bitcoin somewhere, somehow. And that's just an inevitability and not going to stop. And other than that, absolutely bullish. Still looking for 25K here within the next few weeks.
Yeah. Hey, just want to jump back in here real quick. Somebody put this together. Me and Jimmy kind of mentioned it, or I think mostly Jimmy mentioned it. And somebody went ahead and made this website, and it's pretty cool. I just got the link today. And what the person did was they took the total supply and then divided by the total Bitcoin supply, and then multiplied it by the price of the coin to kind of normalize the price based on the total supply of the coin that is out there in the ecosystem. And then if we sort by price, you can see that the price of Bitcoin is pretty much the same as the price of Ripple when you actually normalize it. And then you go down to Ethereum and you go from there. Yeah, so Ripple has gotten completely out of control. And so Bitcoin isn't all that expensive, right? Like, one should normalize for the price based on the amount of coins that are actually out there for that particular coin. And one more thing, I don't really, maybe it's under the CME hashtag, CME futures. People are blaming like Wall Street and like the futures because like the top of the, I guess I can't really search for it, but people keep saying how, well, the timing, the Bitcoin top took place at the same time as the CME launch. And to me, that's a coincidence. And we're going to debunk this once Bitcoin goes to a new all-time high, probably sometime this month, maybe even in a couple of days, because the hype of people buying up Bitcoin because of the futures coming in was what drove the price up. It's not that Wall Street is driving the price down with its futures, is that people got way too irrational, and it was buy the rumor, sell the news event.
Moving on to the exit question, given the continued rise of Bitcoin in price, how will this affect so-called competing projects such as Bcash? Tone Vase.
There's competing projects. I clarify. No, look, there are no competing projects to Bitcoin. Okay, I don't see it that way. To me, like, you know, yeah, like some of these other coins may have one or two smart developers. I mean, Bcash has none of those, right? I mean, Monero has one or two guys. Maybe Litecoin has one or two guys. That's all I'll pretty much give credit for. As far as any other coin goes, no, Bcash is not an alternative. I mean, it gets bad, right? I mean, they've now taken control of the Bitcoin Twitter handle, so it's another thing that we now have to fight. You know, they have Coinbase is against Bitcoin. You know, BitPay and blockchain.info, and yeah, I'll just do one screen share real quick because someone just tweeted this at me. So I'm pulling up the tweet now, and I'll just do this screen share for one tweet. And the problem that the person that tweeted this at me says, Brian Armstrong actually liked this tweet. Bitcoin core dominance 33%. They basically have a token that is unusable. So why the hell is Coinbase still serving Bitcoin? Get the hell out. Get the hell out. You know, start only selling Bcash. Start only selling Ripple. You know, start selling BitConnect. I mean, just stop selling Bitcoin. Get the hell out. We don't need you. Leave. If you don't like Bitcoin, just leave.
It's really ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, look, they're citing all this Bitcoin dominance and things like that. Like, oh no, it's going lower. Bitcoin Core, everybody's leaving and running for the exits. And it's like, look, this is ridiculous. Please, people, can we? There's been so much information that's been put out about why market cap is a horrible way to judge a coin that you need to start listening. I mean, the information is out there. Ripple can print billions and billions of tokens at will, and you want to compare that with the Bitcoin market cap when it takes huge amounts of energy to mine Bitcoin? You are comparing that directly with Ripple. That is ridiculous. Okay, that is absolutely ridiculous to compare that type of thing, and to even call Ripple a blockchain in the first place is ridiculous. But you were comparing market cap with Ripple and Bitcoin is so beyond insanity that I don't understand it. We need to come up with much better ways of valuing these cryptocurrencies, and the market cap is being completely gamed at this point, and now being taken advantage of by Bitcoin haters as pointing at as a reason why everybody's leaving core. Meanwhile, transactions go up, price goes up, Segwit adoption is up. A bunch of new companies have adopted Segwit. We'll be talking about that. You know, this Lightning has had successful mainnet transactions. This stuff is happening, and you know whether you guys like it or not, maybe because you sold your Bitcoin. I don't know the reason why you hate Bitcoin so much, but this is happening, and there's nothing you can do about it. And this will be extremely successful.
Yeah, and so some of the tweets that are coming out now are absolutely amazing. I'm sure you saw this one, guys, right? I mean, this actually cracked me up as well. And there was one more about what would happen if, like, here, this has 5,000 likes and like 2,500 retweets. XRP explained for Bitcoiners, imagine if Satoshi pre-mined all 21 million Bitcoins, kept 13 million for himself, and then allowed himself and a few friends validate transactions. That pretty much is what Ripple is.
All right, you guys are getting ahead of ourselves here, but we're moving on to issue 2, Ripple. The price of Ripple recently rose incredibly from 25 cents to almost $3, making the CEO of Ripple briefly richer than Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook. Ripple was risen based upon the rumors that would be added to Coinbase after Coinbase added BCH suddenly and with surprise. Insider trading rumors had said that Coinbase had discussed adding Ripple at their Christmas party, and all the employees seemed to know what was going on. And now Ripple is claiming that the big 3 money transfer firms will use Ripple in 2018. Remember, 60 million Ripple have been locked up by the company, and it is, as you guys said, doesn't have a blockchain, is all pre-mined, is all owned by the company, with some even saying that you don't need XRP to use Ripple. Jeffrey Jones, is Ripple a major competitor to Bitcoin? Should people be investing in Ripple instead of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I guess we did get a little bit ahead of ourselves there, me and Tone. But look, this is what's just going around. Ripple is all over the news, you know, with their rise. I had people contacting me that I haven't spoke to in years, asking me if they should buy Ripple. That's when you know that.
And you sure they didn't mean the wine, right? There's no confusion with Ripple, the low class poor wine in a bottle. Strange.
Unfortunately, no. They definitely were talking about the token, and again, people coming out of the woodwork to buy this kind of stuff. Nobody is understanding what they're buying here in the crypto. Let's be honest. The vast majority, the 80% plus, have no idea what they're buying. It is really the 20% that kind of keep up the hodlers. They're trying to keep up the Bitcoin price, that keep buying, the people who actually understand the fundamentals. But with Ripple, it's just completely irrational exuberance. Nobody has any idea what's going on, because if they did, they would know that nobody is using Ripple. And I mean, nobody is using it for marketing, for transactions, for e-commerce, for nothing other than speculation on a few different exchanges. And, with the rumor passing that Coinbase is not going to add Ripple, and that no banks are actually using it, the price is starting to come down a bit. And really, it should go back down to reality, which is pennies, if that. Fractions of a penny is more about what XRP is worth, because it is just a database. It's absolutely just a database. You can get much better results from a database. I don't know of any bank ever that would want to take on this system and still use the XRP token. Why would banks do this? They already print dollars. They already create dollars for loans. They have absolutely no use for this at all. If they want, at the end of the day, Swift is a database. If they wanted to speed that up, they could. They don't really need to take quite as long as they do. They could upgrade that a little bit further, as they actually have been doing. For example, PayPal. Now with cryptocurrency being so huge, PayPal has increased their speed of transactions from getting of deposits from your PayPal account to your bank. They've increased that substantially. That's like same day now, no matter what you do. And so, the industry will respond, but Ripple is just going nowhere fast. There's nobody that's going to adopt it. There's nobody that wants to adopt it. No banks are going to use this. And I heard some people on Twitter saying that there's all this money. Some of it's got to be used for actual transactions. Really? Show me. Show me what website is accepting Ripple to buy a product, because there is none. Show me which bank is actually using Ripple software and XRP tokens. There is none. It's 100% pure speculation. And so, as the world figures this out, and Ripple won't be the last. Remember, we had Ethereum rise, then we had Bcash rise, now Ripple rise. There's going to be another one. There's going to be another flavor of the week that people are going to buy with irrational exuberance, and that's fine. Look, more power to you guys. If you want to gamble, go ahead, and that's fine. But meanwhile, don't forget about the fact, or don't, mistake the fact, or don't misconstrue the fact that Bitcoin is the world's store of value, is the store of value for all of crypto. It's what backs up all of crypto. And so just, when you see these crazy market caps of Ripple, even going higher than Bitcoin, start to think about that for a second. It costs thousands of dollars to mine Bitcoin. It costs nothing to print Ripple. Where's the value? So just start, investigating this a little bit for yourself, do your own due diligence, and you'll find out that Ripple has a lot of empty promises.
Excellent point, Jeff. I do agree. If the banks or even a government were going to make their own coin, why would they use someone else's coin? You can't just print them all. Look at the crypto ruble. Look at the Emirates coin out of Dubai. The goal is print all the coins so you own them, then sell them. Maybe if Ripple was a group like Hulu, for the entertainment industry, a group of banks working together who had all invested into Ripple, that would make more sense. But from what I'm seeing, I agree with you. There's no reason that the banks would use them, but yet that's their use case. Tone vague.
And just one final point. The final point is that, remember, people, Ripple, like every other centralized coin, can be shut down tomorrow. As Tone would say, there's no difference probably between this and eGold. They can absolutely be shut down at any time. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
That's a good point, and it's also worth noting that the CEO of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, is also richer than Mark Zuckerberg, but we can't find him to shut him down. Tone Vase, your thoughts on Ripple?
Yeah, there's also a very small chance that if Satoshi is still alive, he would ever use those Bitcoins to exit the system. I mean, I can't see that happening.
Well, and people were talking on crypto Twitter. Do you think it's possible that the CEO of Ripple would ever sell his Ripple?
That's a good question, right? I mean, he's going to have to exit it somehow.
We did see the CEO of Intel sell his stock recently, perhaps a fire sale. Yeah.
I mean, the big question now, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like Tether. Nobody cares when you're $10 million. When you are billions of dollars, people start to care. So the big question is going to be, is or isn't Ripple a security? And what happens if the SEC decides that Ripple is a security, right? I mean, granted,
But
yeah,
they paid their fine. They got their get out of jail free card. What about
no,
that?
that wasn't a security. That was that was selling tokens to a U.S. felon, Roger Ver, without proper disclaimers, right? I think that was the case.
I think you're right.
Like
They did. They gave Roger some like handshake tokens or something.
right. Oh, what a surprise! Roger has his hands in Ripple, another another something that they want to use to destroy Bitcoin, but they won't. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, right? I mean, like now the regulators are going to start looking like, hey, this guy is now again, like I'm here in Medellin, right? Pablo Escobar was once the sixth richest person in the world, right? Uh, so when you start reaching these levels, you start to get on other people's radars, and let's see how they handle it. I mean, I think they got Bernanke on his side. It's so funny how everyone is like, but Ripple has Bernanke. Oh yeah, all of you guys that came into Bitcoin really loved Bernanke back then, right? Like all of a sudden they love Bernanke now that he's with crypto. Remember what all of you guys said about Ben Lawsky? Guess where Ben Lawsky is now? He's working with Ripple, right? Again, all these guys that all of these crypto people just used to hate with a passion are now supporting because they're helping them pump their altcoin of choice. There's absolutely no integrity, and everyone's just trying to pump it up. Ripple is silly. I try to explain it on Twitter because, like, when you talk. Oh, by the way, and Jeffrey. So when people ask you about Ripple, it's easy for me because in my case, I just sent them directly to my video. Episode 6 of Crypto Scam. There it is, right? I did it a year ago. It hasn't been referenced all that much. It really should. Everything.
I continue to tweet that out, Tone. I continue to tweet that out.
Yeah. It continues to hold true today as it did back then. And this was my explanation for it, where on Twitter, I just said, Ripple is not competition to Bitcoin. And I said, like, I basically built my reputation on like trust and integrity. And no, like, I don't hate Ripple because I'm kind of, because I missed the boat and I didn't make my, tens of millions of dollars on Ripple, which I could have. I mean, I was around when Ripple was coming out. It was like 2012, 2013. Could have bought Ripple at fractions of a penny, but I knew it was nonsense back then. So why do I care, right? I know why I'm in crypto, and I know where my money is, and I know why it's there. I'm not going to try and time this bubble of Ripple because it's a useless token. Nobody needs it, and they don't even know what it is, right? Because they created it just because they could, like all these other ICOs, and then they were like, no, Ripple is just it's a fee. Ripple itself is a fee to prevent spam between banks. And then they're like, and now everyone is saying, oh, look how cheap the fee is to send Ripple around. No, Ripple was gonna be the fee, right? It's like they keep changing the goalpost of what Ripple is. It's just to come up with more bullshit as to why everyone else should buy it.
And it even says, they even in their own language, they tell you in their privacy in terms of conditions that this is not a currency. This is not redeemable for anything at all.
And then why did they float it? Why didn't they just set it to, why didn't they just internally set it to an actual pegged value? They're in control of the token. They can peg it. I mean, the only reason to put it up for open trading by like underage people or anyone in the world is basically you just want to make money by selling a token you pre-mined. But you didn't even pre-mine, just created it. There's no mining.
Moving on to the exit question. Get out your crystal balls. What coin or coin concept will pump next? Will the pump be deserved or will it be like Ripple? Jeffrey Jones.
It's important to remember that these things are cyclical. Bitcoin goes up, alts go down, then Bitcoin corrects, alts go up. It's going to continue like that for a while because there's just so many people that don't understand. It's going to take years before people start, understanding Bitcoin like they understand the internet and how they understand scams. They understand to not click on pop-ups. They understand to not download attachments, these types of things. And even that took years for people to really learn. And so it's going to take years again. There's going to be another security curve. This is another learning curve. It's going to take years. And until then, coins like Ripple will pump when people see them that they're only $1. and that they can buy them. It's just super simple without it having to do anything with Wall Street at all. You just go to Coinbase or whatever exchange and just add your Bitcoin. So it's going to be a while. There's going to be a lot more coins that are going to pump. I foresee that these single digit coins are going to take the top 10 for a little while here, for definitely the near term. Because again, people are just going to buy that up so crazy. They're going to buy that up. They're going to look at Bitcoin, see $17,000, and look at Ripple and see $1. And remember, this huge amount of unit bias is being recognized by various members of the community, like Jimmy Song, who's been pushing to use bits and things like that. And I implore everybody who agrees with that to message CoinMarketCap on Twitter and message them. Look, we need to start showing Bitcoin in bits and not $17,000 as a whole coin, because you can in fact buy fractions of the coin. And so it's just completely misleading to new investors and things like that. And maybe that'll be a partial fix. But at the end of the day, it's going to take a while for people to learn and understand this stuff. And until then, only the smart and intelligent people will be buying Bitcoin, who understand the actual fundamentals, and all the other 80% of people are going to be buying Ripple.
Tone Vase.
All right, well, let's just take a look, right? Can you guys see my full screen? Because it's kind of on landscape, not landscape, it's kind of on portrait.
We can see it's a little small, but we can see it.
Right. I mean, that seems to be the magic formula, right? I mean, look at that 7 to 8% gain, right? And it's all of the coins that were worth the least amount of money. I mean, look at Tron, right? I guess it already pumped, but it's still at 20 cents, right? So that's probably the next one to pump. My guess is, I mean, that's the pattern, right? NEM has already pumped. NEM is just useless. Even the guy that created NEM left it because he knew it was garbage. Tone,
real quick, I got to interrupt you on the NEM thing, because man, I talked to some NEM people as well. I tried to ask them about fundamentals, why they're buying it, and the only thing they could tell me is that it rose in price. That was it.
Oh, they don't know anything. I mean, look, again, like I remember, what the hell was his name? Nakomo or something like that. When he was writing the PhD, his PhD paper was NEM, and then he launched it as part of his PhD. And the entire year he was like writing and building NEM. We were telling him how dumb his PhD was, and then he launches NEM, and then it doesn't do anything, and then he walks away. And then like a year later, somebody says, "Hey, I can pump this shit," and they take over the coin. Tron is up there because it was cheap. Stellar is already pumped, like 100% gain there. EOS has already pumped. It's already $10. I mean, once you're above $10, put a fork in you. At this point, everyone is going after those penny coins. We got Ardor at about $1.56. That's ready for a pump. I mean, that's kind of what it is. You gotta go real far down to look for those pennies, man. Let's find something really interesting. It's just nonsense, right? Civics at $1. Like any of this stuff can pump, and the thing is, all of these are .coms. They're .coms. There's nothing there. They're .coms of 1999. That's it. There's just one. There's just one thing that's useful. That's it. And yeah, it would be interesting if even if only CoinMarketCap just goes to bits. It would be very, very interesting how things look. By the way, that's a good point. We don't need like developers pushing it in the code. Just even something like a CoinMarketCap display going to bits could actually change the whole narrative.
All right, we'd just like to ask everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share so that more people can find the show. Moving on to issue 3, Visa. Visa locks down Bitcoin payment cards in crackdown on card issuer. Wavescrest, a company that issued most of the Bitcoin debit cards currently in use, has been shut down. Visa accused Wavescrest, a Gibraltar-based company, of selling the cards to people in other countries outside of the United States, as well as perhaps other violations. Tone Vase, is Visa shutting down Bitcoin payment cards a major threat to Bitcoin? Will this affect the Bitcoin industry negatively?
I don't really think so. I mean, it's convenient. Again, I'm hanging out with some people that aren't US citizens, and they have these Visa Bitcoin debit cards. And it's pretty convenient, but it's only convenient if like your life is Bitcoin. And for someone like me, my life is pretty much Bitcoin, but I would still be hesitant to use it because a lot of these things are connected to Coinbase. They're not prepaid cards. They're still connected to your identity. And I'm still nervous about using Bitcoin with my identity because then I flag myself as a Bitcoin user. I still, cross the airport and I don't flag because I don't use Bitcoin. I still use fiat for everything. But I hold on to my Bitcoin for now because I don't know which way the laws are going to go, and I don't know which way the U.S. is going to lean. So I don't think this is it. I mean, people are going to start using Bitcoin, and that's the thing. Like, we're waiting for Lightning. We're all waiting for Lightning. One of the problems right now is Bitcoin is too popular too early, and that's why A, there is spam, and B, there's a lot of people using transactions. I mean, it sucks. I use Bitcoin like 3 to 4 times a day. And the fees do suck, but I'm willing to, bear with the fees because I know that leading us into the next story, I guess. But a lot of this stuff is way ahead of its time. We'll get there. We'll get there. Everybody will be using it. It'll be very free. It'll be very fast. We'll get there. But getting there tomorrow can endanger the whole freaking, venture.
Jeffrey Jones, is this a major problem for Bitcoin?
So I think it's a problem, a temporary problem for Bitcoin, some Bitcoin users, right? But it's not a problem for Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin will continue its march onward. Because remember, there is demand. There is huge demand for Bitcoin. So if this company, this Wavecrest company, getting shut down by Visa, there will be competition eventually if they don't do something about this, because there's just too much demand. As the price will continue to rise in Bitcoin, so will the demand. And somebody somewhere is going to serve that audience. Somebody somewhere is going to make huge amounts of money off of the ignorance of people like Wavecrest and these types of companies like Visa, because it's just huge amounts of people that would like to use this stuff. And again, it's very early days, as Tone just mentioned. I like to say that a lot. It's still early days, so something like this definitely can't affect Bitcoin this early. But in addition to this, now BitPay is doing something with their Bit70 and just having this additional network fee that's just doubling everybody's fees. And now they're actually pushing the mining fees onto the regular customer. So if you have BitPay as a merchant, all your customers are now double paying for everything that you off of your company, your website. So it's really bad right now. It was pretty smooth sailing there for Bitcoin debit cards for a little while there. Now we have a hiccup. This hiccup will get dealt with. Again, the demand is there. Somebody's going to figure it out, and eventually we won't have these issues. Now, Tone has every right to be, continue to being afraid of using Bitcoin in the U.S. I mean, if there's ever a country where you're going to be under threat for using Bitcoin, it's going to be the U.S., the financial capital of the world. So you still can have every right to be skeptical and not use Bitcoin debit cards and things like that to tie your identity to Bitcoin. But again, I believe this will all be worked out. It's only going to take a couple banks. Remember, there's so much demand that all it's going to take is 1 or 2 banks flipping over to the other side saying, you know what, guys, you have all the fun over here with your KYC. We're going to serve this huge audience over here, and it's going to blow up. The amount of people that they will service is just going to be huge orders of magnitude bigger than what the other guys is coming, and it will eventually just like a black hole suck all the other banks in. It's like Andreas used to say with that herd mentality. It's only going to take a couple to break off the herd, and then everybody else is going to join because the demand is there. So it's still a little bit early days right now, but it's coming, and I really feel empathy for these people who had this amazing convenience and now has to be kind of set back a bit. But again, it is early days. We're going to get this figured out, and there's a lot of smart people in this community, and so I'm looking forward to see what kind of solutions we're going to come up with.
Exit question: have we seen the last of this idea, or will there be more Bitcoin debit cards in the future? Some even saying that one of these companies should form or buy a bank, then use the bank to issue the Bitcoin debit or Visa cards. Tone Vase.
That's definitely one way.
That's not going to work. I mean, the moment you buy a bank, then you're under regulation as the other banks, and then the regulator comes to you, well, you better do this or you go to prison. Why the hell did you buy this thing? That's not going to help at all.
Yeah, the solution's going to have to come from outside, I think. But yeah, outside
right.
This is.
Look, more and more companies are going to accept Bitcoin directly, right? I mean, who are you going to accept them with now? Like Coinbase, BitPay, they're a problem. Like, I'm happy that these things don't work. First of all, the less Bitcoin you're able to spend, the more you hodl it, and the better it is for the price. Also, most of these, so I really don't mind this at all. And again, leading us into the next, everyone's going to keep trying, right? I mean, you can collect fees, so why not? Like if you can convince Visa to let them stick a logo on your thing, I mean, is it really that hard to develop, to print out a debit card? You just got to get Visa's okay to stick a Visa logo on it and have it compatible with point of sale systems. Like everybody had this idea. Like I remember, like in 2013, it's like every third company was who was trying to do a debit card. They're going to keep trying. We haven't heard the last of this.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yep. They're just, I'm with Tone. They're going to keep trying. The demand is there. Somebody's going to keep trying because somebody's going to see dollar signs in their eyes.
I mean, there can't be that much demand because your only users are Bitcoiners with a lot of Bitcoin. And what are you trying to do with that Bitcoin? You're trying to conform to the traditional banking system. That's not thinking out of the box.
Look, Tone. There's people that have Bitcoin that are just trying to live, man. Most of the people that I've seen with Bitcoin debit cards just use it for regular everyday stuff, right?
No,
Groceries.
I agree with you, but these people are still few and far between, right? And
no, I agreed that it's early days, Tone, but the demand is accelerating at exponential rates with the price.
I know, but the business model is conforming Bitcoin to the traditional banking system, right? I mean, the point is to wait for Lightning and then try to get Lightning channels added into the POS systems themselves, and then screw the debit card. Let people pay directly.
Absolutely, and that would be an amazing end goal, but that takes time, Tone. And for now,
right.
We're going to have to still use the debit card system. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with Tone. This is a product mainly for Bitcoin early adopters. It sounds like a really neat product, but when you actually think about the realities of spending Bitcoin every time you swipe the card, it's terrifying. Why not just charge it and pay it off later when Bitcoin's worth more? Moving on to issue 4, Segwit adoption. Bitcoin fees have halved since their December peak, as we see more and more companies, not Coinbase, accepting Segwit. Localbitcoins.com and BTC.com have added Segwit support to their wallets. BTC.com even adding it to their mining posts and pools, saying that you will experience a drop in transaction fees and faster transaction times when you want to send Bitcoin. Tone Vase, is this it? Are we going to see Segwit adoption in 2018? Are the Bitcoin fee troubles over?
I think we will. It'll probably be closer into the summer. I think it'll take about 6 months. I think there is enough pressure building where people are really starting to harass some of these companies to add Segwit. I got my first native Segwit transaction the other day, actually. Like I still don't have, because there's different types of Segwit. There's the wallets that start with a 3, and then there's the wallets that start with BC1. I got my first transaction from a native Segwit back 32, and most of my wallet didn't even recognize it. I got the transaction, and it's a Segwit wallet, but it said it said null, sent from null, and I got the transaction. I'm like, what the hell is that? I mean, I got the Bitcoin in my wallet, but it couldn't tell me where it was coming from because it didn't recognize the Bitcoin address. And then I looked at some of the block explorers, and they couldn't read it either. Like they're recognizing the fact that I have the Bitcoin, but they're not able to identify the native Segwit address. So and I can't possibly think that this is difficult development work here. And this has been around for like a year now. Like all of these guys should have been ready. It's like, how delusional were you people thinking that Segwit wasn't going to get in? I mean, we all knew that Segwit was getting in on this channel. But yeah, there's still some development work to be done. Again, it's mostly 3 companies holding us up: BitPay, Coinbase, and blockchain.info. And if those 3 companies convert to native Segwit, the fee problem just almost instantaneously goes away. People still make fun of me in my debate with Roger Ver a year ago, where I said that Segwit will solve 95% of the fees and the full blocks, and people are making fun of me that it hasn't. And I'm like, well, have you considered that maybe Segwit isn't 95% adopted yet, which is what you kind of need to solve the 95% of the problem? If Segwit is only being adopted right now at 10%, then we've only solved 10% of the problem, not 95% of the problem. So people just need to think. Just do it. Just at least get regular Segwit. I'm going to start, I guess I have to look into Electrum. It looks like Electrum is leading the charge on native Segwit. Hopefully Green Address and Samurai will do it soon.
I agree, Tone. It's about these companies, and it's not only that it doesn't take a lot of developer resources and that they should be prepared, it's also that they need to be ahead of the curve. I'm embarrassed for them as technology companies because they're not ahead of the curve. Coinbase should already be releasing a beta version of their Lightning wallet. They should already have Segwit on their servers. All their talk about how their users need cheap transactions and they care about their users and changing their fee structure from paying for the fees to passing the fees on to the users. These are all reasons to adopt Segwit, not reasons to sit on their hands.
And the thing is, and if they only like were supporting core developers instead of, you know, going after them, they would be helping you right now. You can just call them and ask them to help you, you know, get this in there. They would have been more than happy to do it. But instead, you go in the other direction, trying to hard fork, and now you're just trying to destroy Bitcoin, and you're not going to succeed. I mean, again, this is how Facebook takes over MySpace. Someone will take you down, Coinbase. Well, I hope it's Unocoin. I like the guys at Unocoin.
Jeffrey Jones, your thoughts on segregated witness adoption?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good points have already been made. Look, Jameson Lopp posts all sorts of statistics about the Bitcoin blockchain, various analytics and things like that. And he certainly posts percentages that people have been saving on Segwit. And, you know, you can look and see, I mean, there's huge amounts of percentage, millions to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars are being saved by those who adopt Segwit, including Jameson Lopp's company, BitGo. They adopted it. They integrated that pretty quickly. Of course, Jameson Lopp is a pretty smart guy. That's probably why they were able to integrate it so quickly. But really, it doesn't take a whole lot of work. It does take a little bit. It absolutely does. You have to dedicate a developer to this. But there's no reason why this should take longer than a couple weeks. There are a bunch of small companies that have already integrated Segwit into there. And remember, these companies like Coinbase and BitPay, they were the ones that were pushing Segwit 2x down our throat last year. Who eventually gave up on it. They were what were they going to do if Segwit 2x actually got adopted? What were they going to do then? Were they going to like put developers on there? I mean, they advocated so hard for Segwit 2x, and now we got Segwit, and they're not adopting it. Right, so we understand that it's a bit of a political battle here. Companies like Coinbase are not activating Segwit at this point purely for political reasons. It's not technical, unless they have no idea what they're talking about, which is probably what it was. But I think that this is going to be a hurdle, and we're going to get over this. There's going to be more and more companies, as we just mentioned, that will continue to adopt Segwit because the savings is just undeniable, and the improvements are undeniable. You know, that transaction malleability bug, that's a huge thing. And the ability to now with Segwit being able to soft fork almost any feature we can think of, people like, you know, Schnorr signatures, even maybe confidential transactions, almost anything we can think of, we can soft fork in now because of Segwit. So huge improvements are on the way. And even, we didn't mention this, but even WireX app, you know, unfortunately they had their debit card shut down by Wavecrest, but they did adopt Segwit. I believe they announced it today or yesterday. They just got done implementing Segwit into their technology stack. So this is coming. It's going to be there. People can look at the Segwit.party website, right, and say, oh no, it's still at 10 or 12%. But look, there's more and more companies adopting this. That's going to go up. And when it goes up, it's going to go up fast, right? It's not going to be probably this little, no, it's going to go up as more of these companies start adopting it. And at this point, I just love the point you guys made about hiring open source devs. So many companies like Coinbase and BitPay have not one single contribution, not one single Git commit in Bitcoin as an open source project, yet they make all of these millions and millions of dollars off of it. It's like, hire a freaking open source developer, people. You need to do this. It would have saved you so much time, so much trouble.
And that's a good point, because look, everyone likes to, you know, go after Blockstream because like 3 Bitcoin developers are getting paid by a company that had some funding from a financial company. Meanwhile, all these people seem to love Ripple. Look, there's like hundreds of Bitcoin core developers with contributions that will come highly recommended, that volunteer and don't get paid. They'll be more than happy to take on a job with you, Coinbase, to help you get Segwit in there.
Absolutely. I mean,
it'll look really good for their resume to code shit in the future.
It would look absolutely amazing if Coinbase integrated Segwit Q1. I mean, it would be amazing for their company. It would be amazing for BitPay. These companies are going to save themselves millions of dollars. And in addition, they're going to get so much positive PR, huge amounts of positive PR. when they inevitably switch over to Segwit, because this is what the world, this is what the community, this is what the developers, this is what the users have decided they want, right? We want this decentralized token. All the people who want just another PayPal 2.0 have now gone to the Bcash camp. They can have their PayPal 2.0 and their payments, right? Bitcoin will for now be the store of value, but I always have to emphasize this: Bitcoin will be payments, as well. There is a payment network attached, people. There is a payment network attached to this decentralized, open, borderless, global network that is Bitcoin, right? People are like, oh, you still believe in Vortex, that you can send transactions over Bitcoin? Yeah, you can. I just got a few tips from my website at theonevortex.com that I just launched. A couple people sent me tips. You can still send payments, and Tone says a few payments per day. So this is still here, but just we want to keep this decentralized, and that's what Lightning is for. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard for tips, but
it works though. It's still there. Like,
I'm 2 people away from selling out my seminar in Singapore. There you
go.
One of the
people
transactions.
Are still paying Bitcoin.
Yeah. Look, just start selling products that people want. Start selling products that are more expensive. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to sell, stickers for Bitcoin on your Bitcoin.com website. Maybe that's not the best use of the blockchain right now. Okay, maybe you should stick to something a little more important for the use of Bitcoin, like something that's actually censorship resistant. Well, what can I tell you?
Also, I'd like to go back to Jeff's point about BitGo. BitGo was a house divided. Their CEO didn't want Segwit. Their COO did. There was a disagreement, but not among the top CTO. But there's a disagreement above the top brass, and they had it in public too. They fought in public. Yet, when it came time to install and upgrade their technology, they were ready. You have to be ready for this on both sides. You can't just, debate it and then lose and cry and go home and play with your crypto kitties and develop your Toshi apps and whatever else Coinbase is doing as they continue to chase these altcoin profits. You have to support the one who brought you. You have to support the Bitcoin. Tone, more say?
No, that was a good point. Again, Charlie Lee was the CTO of Coinbase. Again, probably not the... look, I like Charlie and everything, but the guy created Litecoin. Shoot, you have 100 Bitcoin core devs to choose from to be your CTO, and you went with the Litecoin guy. Come on, it's just I don't know what. I don't understand how Coinbase has all this money to run their business. Like, I don't understand how they haven't been hacked yet. Like, it's amazing to me. Like I've been saying it for 2 years.
We don't know that they haven't been hacked. There is that rumor going around that they have a large amount of money in small UTXOs that they can't reach. They might have hacked themselves through bad management. We don't know.
Right, through bad development. Like I've been saying for a long time, if there's like 5 ways to do something and 3 of those ways are terrible, Coinbase will find a 6th way that's significantly worse than all of them combined, and that's the direction they're going to go. That's been like their motto from day one.
And I think this blends well into the exit question. Exit question, Coinbase, the 500-pound gorilla in the room, who previously on Twitter, when asked when Segwit, answered in 2018. Will Coinbase deliver Segwit in quarter 1, 2, 3, or 4 of 2018? Will they do it with any warning or notice, or will they do it suddenly? And will it be successful? Tone Vase.
Quarter 4 and a third. It'll be like December of quarter 4, and they'll find a way to botch it up. I know they will. It'll be they'll find a way to botch it.
Quarter 4, that's just mean. Jeffrey Jones.
No, yeah, I really think that they are going to get their crap together eventually. They have a lot of money. It just all they really need to do is just get rid of Brian Armstrong, to be honest. If they got rid of Brian Armstrong and got a CEO in there like Pierre Richard, they could absolutely turn around that place pretty quickly, much quicker than I think anybody could anticipate. But yeah, in my opinion, I think they're still going to get Segwit out there. Again, as you said, Thomas, the demand is growing. There's pressure building in the community and amongst all sorts of people, from anything from VCs to developers to traders. It's all bubbling up, and they're going to have to make a decision. So I definitely think it's going to be this year. It could be pretty early, but as Tone says, guarantee you they're going to mess that up somehow. They're going to launch Segwit, and then like you send an to their coin to their first Segwit address. That first time you send it, it's going to be messed up. Like they're going to make it. They're going to do something to where you completely lose coin. Like it's just the way Coinbase operates.
I would have recommended Whale Panda for the job.
Whale Panda or Pierre Richard.
I'm sure anyone on Twitter is fully qualified to be the CEO of Coinbase at this point. Isn't that how they found Brian? I thought he just volunteered on Twitter.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, like, look, they'll implement Segwit when everyone else is implementing Lightning. And then they're going to be having this discussion throughout the entire 2019. When the hell is Coinbase going to add a Lightning channel?
And that's the difference between a technology company and whatever Coinbase is. You have to be proactive. You can't just be reactive. Moving on to the bonus issues. You're so lucky today. We're doing bonus issues. Issue 5. Will China ban Bitcoin mining? The rumors have been circulating. China's upset about the way their energy is being used. And they even believe that Bitcoin mining and its extreme use of electricity may be damaging their electricity grid or siphoning power from other, presumably better for the state uses. A puzzling report has now been released on Twitter saying that Chinese Bitcoin miners should be quitting gradually from mining Bitcoin and potentially a total ban on Bitcoin mining in China. Tone Vase, your thoughts on China's latest actions? Are they real?
When it comes to these rumors, like where there's smoke, especially with China, there's usually been fire, right? Now, the fire has usually been a lot smaller than the smoke anticipates it. But it's always, all of these rumors, did come true, just not in, it just wasn't as bad as the rumor was, right? It happened with, the Chinese volume, then it happened with the ICOs, and now with the Chinese exchanges. And I think it's going to happen with mining. Like, I don't think it's going to be a total outright ban. I just think they'll probably limit them. They'll probably, say, hey, you can use such and such electricity. They might raise the price of electricity. They might tax these miners. They might also be looking into, the Chinese using mining as a way to avoid capital controls, right? They might start putting limits on that. And this is interesting because I just got my hands. I didn't know if you were going to share it or not, Thomas, but I'll share it from my end. I wonder, do I still have the image up? Yeah, I still have the image up. So let me do a screen share, and this is what I found interesting. Oh, there you go. You got it up. That I don't know how true this is, but it's got today's date on it. That Bitmain is like urgently trying to get an order of the 12 nanometer chips so that they can build their miners. And if this is an urgent order, it may, if you link the two together, maybe Bitmain knows when this is going to break, and they're trying to just build a bunch of miners that they can and like sell them. And then once they sell these miners out, it's no longer their problem. And if the ban comes, people will just have to move these miners out of the country. So it'll be an interesting development. This is why I was never worried about the mining centralization in China. It was either sooner or later, either the government was going to crack down, or they were going to do something stupid like Jihan accepting only Bcash for the miners. I mean, they were going to blow themselves up. The government's going to come and say, hey, you can't just use all of the government's electricity for this. And people are going to start buying competitors. Again, I run a Canon miner at home. Canon is Avalon. They make Avalon miners. And I'm already on their list to get their latest miner once it's out. They're going to be releasing new sets of miners throughout 2018. I already asked them to put me on a list. I'm going to buy those. And I'm just going to run one miner. Maybe I'll donate my other miner, right? I just don't want to ship it anywhere. So we'll see how that's going to go. I'll have to donate it to someone within driving vicinity of me. They can come and pick it up. Because I want people to run a miner at home. Look, think of it as paying for internet. Like I don't really pay for internet at home. I have a way around it, but normal people pay for internet at home, even if they travel all year round. But yeah, look, like you pay for a gym membership, you barely go. I mean, you're going to go in January, but that's about it. Look, just buy one miner. Like, it's not going to be that much of an electricity bill, but you'll be supporting the network. And that's the future that I see. I see people that are invested in Bitcoin, that have their savings in Bitcoin, just help the network run one miner, even if that miner is 2 years old. My miner has been running for 6 months. It's still making me some money. Just leave it there running, like running a node. You run a node to validate your transactions. You run a miner to help decentralize the network. And I think that's what's going to happen in the future.
Jeffrey Jones, is the Chinese government our friend? Are they making Bitcoin mining decentralized like we've always wanted?
I think everybody understands at this point that China is a very authoritative regime over there, right? They want to control, they want to have their hands over everything, and that's not going to change, right, anytime soon. So, anybody that thought that Bitcoin could blow up and succeed in China without some type of intervention, is deluding themselves, right? Because China, that's just how China is. And so, like Tone, I'm still pretty bullish, though, actually, on Bitcoin mining in China, because I just don't see them throwing away this golden goose. I just don't see them, because remember, their electricity grid is not like the US's. It's not even a grid, right? They have all this electricity in various parts of China, in rural China, and they're going to need a way to monetize that. And that will be Bitcoin. It started out as Bitcoin a little bit minor, but once the government really figures it out, in my opinion, I think they're just going to ramp that up to the next level. Now, of course, it'll all be government run and state run, and it's not going to be the democratic utopia that everybody wants to have, right? But China will not let this go. They're going to want to compete, as many other countries will want to compete. This is the internet of money. This is the new age. This is the information age, and in the information age, digital money is going to be everything. So they're going to want to play along. And remember, millions of dollars kind of has already started to leave China in mining equipment. I've heard reports and rumors. I know a couple people in China that have been on my show before, and they tell me too that a lot of people are packing up shop and leaving China, going to other countries, going to where the grass is greener. They're going to go to Canada. They're going to go to a place where they can get cheap electricity and really get the best, most efficient mining temperatures out of that. So they're going to go to cold places. And there's, for example, who was it? I forget who, Bitfury maybe, who just launched or announced to launch a huge new mining operation in North America and Canada. So, and plus, of course, we got Halon mining. So, this is going to be a hugely competitive space, continue to be a hugely competitive space. It's important to note that we went up huge orders of magnitude in difficulty last year. We started out the year very low, and man, we just went up with the price and difficulty. So Bitcoin is more secure than ever. There's more competition than ever. The price is up, so there's going to be more competition and more people coming in, which is going to drive the price up more. And this is the network effects that drive these loops. And I really like Tone's example about how, for example, if Netflix wanted to invest in Bitcoin, right? Maybe an idea they would do is go into Africa and start selling, movies there for Bitcoin. And if they did that and made huge amounts of money, well, then don't you think that they'll want to invest a little bit back into Bitcoin by, for example, maybe investing in some miners or some nodes and things like that? That's how it's going to play out. These companies and these people will get invested in Bitcoin, and and everybody's best interests will be completely aligned with what Bitcoin's best interests are. And that's kind of, that's what the game theory, that's the end goal of the game theory in Bitcoin, is to make sure that this adversarial type of thinking is efficient enough to make everybody play by the rules. And so far it's been working. And we there's pockets of centralization, of course, but so far it's working, and it's only getting better every day.
I think the key word here, and Jeff mentioned it early in his response, is control. The Chinese government wants control. They're a little bit capitalist, they're a little bit communist, but they're 100% control. They might not be able to control everything. China is a big country. A lot of things happen without them knowing about it, but eventually they come around. Now, maybe they just want a taste. Maybe they just want a cut of the money. Maybe they just want the ability to turn these things off and on whenever they like. Either way, they want control, and they're going to get control. Any more on this issue, Tone or Jeff? Or
No, just one little point in that. See, Coinbase plays by different rules than Google and Netflix, because Google and Netflix are technology companies. And ever since the internet came out, technology companies have been getting bigger, bigger, and bigger, where they're starting to write the rules. Coinbase is just a little bug trying to play by the rules of the financial system, trying to creep up in there. So they're not there to challenge the system at all by any means. But if companies like Google and Netflix and Amazon get in, they can actually do some challenges. And from what I'm reading, like the U.S. government is starting to get scared as how big these technology companies are getting, like Apple, like Amazon. Not so much Netflix yet, but yeah, like Google, and where these companies start to have their politicians making the rules. And that's who you want in this game, the technology guys, not the banking guys.
All right, we're running out of time. We're going to move on to predictions or story of the week. Tone Vase, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
I actually have both. Let me do a story first, only because it just came across my radar. Let me throw it up here, and let me go to screen share. Because we covered the story earlier, this just ran across my radar. We covered a story where the Bulgarian government, I think it was Bulgaria, the Bulgarian government managed to confiscate 200,000 Bitcoin, and this was reported by like a joint Baltic European task force with a combined organized. There's like these agencies. It's like all these agencies. So this like European agency is the one that reported this. This was weeks and maybe even months ago, and now the Bulgarian government comes out was like, "What Bitcoin? We didn't confiscate any Bitcoin." So this is going to be really, really interesting. Like, what happened to that Bitcoin? Like, did the Bulgarian government decide to just, a couple of officials decide to just hold on to it? Did they actually not confiscate it? Did somebody screw up? This is going to be interesting because 200,000 Bitcoin is not something to sneeze at. It's billions of dollars that is going up in value. So it'll be amazing. Like Europe is going to be investigating countries whether they're properly confiscating, criminalized Bitcoin from criminals. And the word criminals, I use that term loosely. If they were running a gray market website, they should not have had anything confiscated. But I found this story pretty interesting. What happens if I do this? Okay, perfect. I was sharing screen. So as for the price, my two tweets from the last 48 hours, 24 hours, what am I saying? Were actually perfectly timed. This is the first tweet I sent when I finally went bullish. And I basically said, hey, we're breaking out of this triangle. Bitcoin is about to go up, and you can see my targets right there. The daily target is pointing to just under $25,000 per Bitcoin. Now, we're not going to get there very, very quickly, but I do believe we are going to get there. That's why earlier in the show, that was my target. My tweet from earlier today, that was an update to that one. Now that we've already broken out from the, within 24 hours of that first tweet, just look at this one where I have multiple time frames. Again, the daily hasn't changed. I'm pointing out on a daily that there's a double top between here and here, and this is going to break, and we're going to go higher, and we're going to reach this double top, and then I'm going to send the same exact tweet out highlighting this, and this is a double top, and here comes another breakout higher. Now, here's the 4-hour chart, and this is a cup and handle pattern to me, where we're supposed to go up the fat part of the cup. Now, I didn't highlight this, but this is around 12,000, and this is around 15,000. So you are looking at a $3,000 pump of the price of Bitcoin using the 4-hour chart. So we are looking at about $18,000 on the 4-hour chart. And I'm looking for a 9 consecutive candles of upside, and then a little bit of a pullback. The hourly chart was giving us one of these, if I put the arrow there, then that thing comes back. So, but you can see it right there in the bottom left-hand corner where you have something known as a bullish pennant. And again, on the hourly chart, I was looking for 9 consecutive hours of upside. You see that arrow pointing to the 9 right here, basically. I just drew this arrow this morning, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to look for a 9. And let's go to the live hourly chart, and look at this. I have not touched this chart at all since I tweeted that out this morning. That was the arrow that I drew. That was the 9 that I drew. I really wish this was a red, not an orange. But in order to get this red, we would really need to go, up here, which does not look like it's happening. But yeah, I was looking for a 9. This is where I'm looking for a 1 to 4 hour pullback, and then we go higher, because the 4-hour chart, again, look at the arrow that I drew this morning, and there it is. We're on an 8, and the 4-hour chart should give us a 9 later on tonight for a potential 1 to 4 candle pullback on the 4-hour before we go higher. So I am starting to look for some pullbacks. The daily is still very clean. I'm looking for 5 more days of upside, hopefully right into this double top, take a little bit of a break, and then go up from there. I'll probably be tweeting more of these out. I mean, I think we're in an awesome bullish environment. The weekly is back to a 5, and all we got to do is close next week at new all-time highs, and we're off to the races. Everything is looking good. Even Ripple is looking great, continuing to sell off. But hey, it's on a 9, like it's the opposite of Bitcoin, right? So the Bitcoin 4 hours about to reach a 9, Ripple's already reached a 9. So maybe a 1 to 4 candle upside, and then go all the way down. I mean, I haven't seen B-Trash in a while, but I hope that one is collapsing as well. To be honest with you guys, I'm more enjoying the fall of shitcoins than the rise of Bitcoin, because I know the rise of Bitcoin is going to happen. But these shitcoins have really been frustrating me lately. But hey, if you don't know what this indicator is, please go to the Learn Trading of my website, and it's explained in section 6. But I recommend you be an expert at sections 1 to 5 before you attempt to understand it. That's pretty much it for me. Back to you guys.
All right, Jeffrey Jones, prediction or story of the week.
Yeah, so a couple things. First of all, a couple trolls in the chat are trying to say that Coinbase added Ripple. No, they didn't. Anyway, I wanted to give one final point to the previous topic there about that image that Tone shared about Bitmain urgently ordering 100K chips. I just wanted to say that, like, look, it is early days, but the demand is going to be there. My point was that there's going to be huge demand. And if this was true, that Bitmain had to emergency order hundreds of thousands of new chips and things, that just shows that the demand is here, that there's huge amounts of demand, and you can't suppress that. So there will be competition in mining, in my opinion, and it will be become much more decentralized. As for story of the week, I definitely recommend everybody check out a link. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes, Thomas. But basically, let me see here. Mr. David Harding, well-known person in the Bitcoin community, kind of released a huge description on what are Lightning Channel factories on good old Stack Exchange. And I definitely tweeted that out. I recommend everybody take a look at it. It's absolutely fascinating stuff talking about channel factories, because a huge amount of people are always, a huge amount of Lightning trolls are always talking about, they're always talking about how Lightning won't work because you have to make a transaction to open and make a transaction to close. My personal opinion was that was never going to be the case once Lightning hits an actual threshold of use of market cap, as far as integration into the ecosystem, because Lightning is also a routing protocol. So there's just going to always be enough channels, already open that you can just be routed through. But in addition to that, now we're talking about Lightning channels, which is even more fascinating, because now with Lightning channels, you actually don't even need to open to spend another transaction to open up another Lightning channel. Once you open up a Lightning channel factory on a Lightning channel that's already been opened, you can then open up unlimited amounts of Lightning channels in addition to that, with no other transactions. This is going to help Lightning scale huge. This is going to help Lightning be integrated. This is going to help Lightning grow. And so this is just huge, awesome news, the way that David explained this. And so I definitely recommend everybody check that out and look into Lightning channel factories. Very amazing stuff. And then finally, I did get around to finally launching my own little portfolio website there. You guys can check it out. The1vortex.com. It's just a little portfolio site on there with a tweet I'm particularly proud of from Mr. Adam Back himself. on there. I put that on the homepage. Thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I have a tip button on there and some articles that I've been that my commentary has been featured on, and podcasts that I've been in and stuff like that. So everybody get a chance to check that out when they check that out when they get a chance. And that's about it for me.
All right, great stuff, Jeff. And my story of the week is I started reading the new Trump book today, The Fire and the Fury. And I have some surprising cryptocurrency related reports from you from the book. First of all, Peter Thiel, whose company Founders Fund, has recently announced that they purchased a great amount of Bitcoin in 2012 and have been doing really well ever since. Was mentioned in the book because, as you know, Peter Thiel gave this speech at the Republican National Convention. Many people assume this means he has a good relationship with Trump and there would be continued dealings in the future. However, according to the book, Peter Thiel did not get his calls returned from Trump and was not involved in the transition at all. Trump did not seek his advice in courting other Silicon Valley billionaires, etc. It looks like Peter Thiel is unfortunately sidelined. So earlier beliefs and reports that Thiel's love of Bitcoin might become Trump's love of Bitcoin and might affect the US government in some way seem far-fetched and misled. Also, there's an interesting Steve Bannon connection to crypto. Steve Bannon briefly worked in video games, working for the company that was later called Internet Gaming Entertainment, or IGE, which was later run by child star Brock Pierce. So an interesting connection. Bannon and Brock Pierce worked together in the cryptocurrency video game industry back in the day. So just a little bit of tying in the most recent modern news into Bitcoin and bringing the two together. But that's about it for this show. Thanks to everybody for watching. We had around 1245 viewers right now at the peak. Thanks so much for giving us a share and a like. That really helps people find the show. Be sure to subscribe down below to the World Crypto Network. We've got Jeffrey Jones coming up this weekend with the Bitcoin News Show on Sunday around noon Pacific time. Check that out. If you want to send us a Bitcoin donation, we've got a Segwit address right here and in the description below. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the Bitcoin Group. Until then, bye-bye.